The lobby lights were almost painfully bright, their glare sharp enough to sting my eyes. Every surface shone with a cold, sterile polish, and the heavy scent of disinfectant filled the air. I sat in the wheelchair the nurse had insisted I use, hands still on the armrests, trying to hide the tremor running through them. My left knee throbbed with a deep, pulsing ache. Each movement felt like stepping onto shattered glass. I tried to breathe slowly to focus, but pain always finds a way to pull you back. All I wanted was to get through the appointment quietly, go home, take my medication, and rest. I never expected anyone to try to take the one thing keeping me upright. The sliding doors opened and the atmosphere in the lobby shifted. Two women walked in with a confidence that demanded attention. The first wore a cream blazer over a pastel blouse, a striped handbag hanging from her arm. Her brown hair gleamed with the kind of shine that only money and salon visits could buy. The second, taller and sharper in presence, wore her blonde hair tied back, dressed in a red blouse and tan leather jacket. Their stride was purposeful, their faces tight with irritation. I didn't know their names yet, but I would soon. Dalian and Emma. They went straight to the reception desk where a nurse in dark blue scrubs reviewed a clipboard. Her posture was calm, practiced, the kind of calm that comes from years of dealing with impatient people. She greeted them with a polite, diffusing smile. It didn't work. "Excuse me," the brown-haired woman snapped, dropping her designer bag onto the counter with a thud. "We need a wheelchair." The nurse nodded. "Of course. Can I get the patient's name?" Emma sighed loudly. "Our mother. She's being brought in. We were told someone would have a wheelchair ready." "This is a hospital. Why isn't one waiting?" The nurse remained steady. "We have a limited number and most are in use. Once your mother arrives, we'll make sure she receives proper assistance." "That's not good enough," Dalian said, her voice rising. "Do you expect her to walk in here? She's elderly. Show some dignity." The nurse opened her mouth to respond, but I felt their eyes on me before she could. At first, just a quick glance. Then a stare. Then calculation. "He doesn't even look injured," Emma said loudly. "Ma'am," the nurse began. "No," Emma cut in. "Look at him. He's fine. He's just sitting there. We need that wheelchair." My heart tightened. Anxiety rose like a wave. I tried to sit taller, but pain fought back. "I'm waiting for my appointment," I said quietly. "I need the chair." Dalian stepped closer, studying me as if I were an obstacle instead of a person. "Everyone needs something," she said. "But you can stand. Let us use it for a moment." "I really can't," she scoffed. "Now, come on, be decent." Emma moved behind me, her hands reaching toward the wheelchair handles as if helping. I gripped the armrests. "Don't touch the chair," heads turned. Conversations paused. The air thickened, Emma's face hardened. "Wow, someone's mother needs that. You're seriously being selfish right now?" "There are procedures," the nurse said firmly, stepping forward. "This patient is under doctor's orders to remain in the wheelchair. You cannot take it." "We're not taking it," Dalian snapped. "We're borrowing it." "It doesn't work that way," the nurse replied. "But entitlement rarely listens to reason." Emma tried again, lightly pushing the chair to claim it. I pushed back, pain flaring up my leg, nearly stealing my breath. "Stop," I said, louder than I expected. The room fell quiet. A man in a gray jacket, a woman with a toddler, a teenage girl pretending not to look, all eyes were on us. The attention only fueled their outrage. "This is unbelievable," Dalian said. "We're trying to help our sick mother and you're prioritizing him." "He's fine. Look at him, he's on his phone." I looked down at my hands. I wasn't on my phone. I was just trying to breathe through the pain. But to them, pain they couldn't see didn't exist. The nurse's voice cut through the tension. "I need you to stop harassing other patients." "Harassing?" Emma snapped. "We're asking for help. You are demanding and attempting to move a patient under medical care," the nurse said firmly. "That is harassment." The lobby wasn't loud anymore, just tense, thick with the silence of everyone waiting to see what would happen next. Waiting. Watching. Dalian exhaled sharply. "You know what? Fine, we'll just wait. But when our mother gets here and collapses because no one helped her, that'll be on you." She turned with a dramatic flick of her hair, Emma following close behind, but not before giving me one last glare, long and deliberate, a silent warning that this wasn't over. I tried to let the tension drain from my shoulders, but it stuck to me like static. I'd always hated confrontation. My life these past months already felt fragile enough. Recovering from a workplace injury, learning to accept what my body could no longer do. The wheelchair wasn't something I wanted. It was something I needed. But need is invisible to people who believe the world owes them more. Minutes passed. The sisters paced the room, whispering to each other, occasionally throwing sharp glances my way. The nurse stayed at the desk, jaw tight, but her steady presence was quietly reassuring. Then the doors opened again. Their mother arrived. She wasn't struggling. She wasn't limping. She wasn't even out of breath. She walked in finishing a phone call. Her tone brisk, her gestures calm, her expression composed. She looked healthy, completely fine. The sisters froze. Something shifted inside me. Just a small spark of realization. The balance had changed, and the story they were trying to create was starting to unravel. The mother ended her call slowly, lowering the phone as though the conversation she'd just had mattered far more than whatever chaos awaited her here. She looked to be in her late 60s, elegant in a powder blue sweater and tailored slacks. Her posture was straight, her presence dignified, not frail in the slightest. Her eyes swept the lobby, taking in the silence, the stares, her daughter's stiff expressions. "Why?" she asked calmly. "Is everyone looking at us?" Neither daughter answered right away. Emma stepped forward first, trying to regain control. "Mom, we've been waiting," she said, widening her eyes dramatically. "There were no wheelchairs available, and we were trying to get you one, but—" The mother raised her hand, not angrily, just enough to silence the explanation. "Emma," she said evenly, "I walked from the parking lot without a problem." Her voice wasn't harsh, just matter of fact. Dalian jumped in. "Yes, but you shouldn't have to walk that far. We asked for help, but the staff here—" Her mother's gaze moved from the wheelchair beneath me to the nurse, then back to her daughter's. Something like disappointment flickered across her face. "I don't need a wheelchair," she said slowly, as though clarifying something that should have been obvious. "So what exactly were you doing?" A quiet ripple spread through the waiting area, a murmur of realization. The tension the sisters had built so dramatically began to collapse. Emma's jaw tightened. "Mom, you always say you don't need help even when you do. We were trying to advocate for you. Is that what this is?" her mother asked softly. "Advocacy?" Her voice carried weight, steady, measured, with the tone of someone who had said this before. The nurse, keeping her professional calm, stepped forward. "Ma'am, we're glad you're here. We just needed to confirm your needs before arranging assistance. We have procedures for that," the mother nodded politely. "Of course. That's perfectly reasonable. Thank you." The sisters hadn't expected to lose control of the scene so quickly. Their righteous confidence was fading into visible frustration. Dalian pulled her mother aside, lowering her voice, but not enough. "Mom, please don't undermine us. The staff here are being uncooperative." She gestured sharply toward me. "This man is refusing to give up his chair." The mother turned her eyes to me for the first time. They were calm, observant, almost knowing. "Is that true?" she asked. I shook my head. "No, ma'am. I didn't refuse out of stubbornness. I can't walk without risking serious injury. Your daughters tried to take the chair by force." Her brows lifted slightly, not in surprise but in recognition. It was a look that said this wasn't the first time. She turned back to them. "Is that what happened?" Neither answered. Silence filled the space with its own truth. The mother sighed, the kind of sigh that carried years of quiet disappointment. "You two have to stop doing this." Emma stiffened. "Doing what?" "Creating problems where there aren't any," her mother said. "You did this last month at the cardiology appointment, and again at the physical therapy clinic, and at the pharmacy before that." Her words hung in the air, firm but tired, the kind that end arguments without raising a voice. A quiet murmur moved through the room. The nurse glanced toward security, a silent recognition that this wasn't the first time she'd seen something like this. Dalian stepped back, crossing her arms, posture stiff and offended. "We were just trying to make sure you were taken seriously," she said. "I am taken seriously," her mother replied calmly. "Until you two start performing. Then I become a spectacle." Emma's composure cracked. Her frustration turned toward me, an easier target. "He should still give us the chair," she snapped. "Look at him. He's fine. Anyone can sit there and pretend they're injured." The words cut deeper than she realized. I'd spent months coming to terms with what my body could no longer do. Every step was a calculation. Every morning a negotiation with pain. To someone like her, I might look fine. But looking fine and being fine aren't the same thing. The nurse spoke before I could. We have documentation confirming his condition. He cannot stand without significant risk, Emma scoffed. Oh, please. People fake injuries all the time, especially men. They can't handle discomfort. The mother closed her eyes, taking a long breath. When she opened them again, something had changed, not anger, but certainty. Enough, she said quietly. Just one word, but it was enough to stop the air in the room. The tension should have ended there. It didn't, because Emma and Dalian weren't the kind to back down. Pride wouldn't let them. Instead, Emma pulled out her phone and raised it toward me. Fine, she said coldly. We'll show everyone what's really happening. A perfectly healthy man refusing to let an elderly woman use a wheelchair. Let's see how that looks. She hit record. Every muscle in my body tensed. Not out of fear, but because I knew people like her didn't record truth. They recorded stories that served them. The nurse stepped forward sharply. Ma'am, you cannot record patients in a medical facility. That's a serious privacy violation. Emma didn't lower the phone. Oh, really? What are you going to do, arrest me for filming in public? This is not public, the nurse said, voice firm and clear. This is a hospital. Put the phone away. That was when security moved. Not aggressively, just with quiet authority. The guard was tall, calm, and deliberate. He didn't need to speak. His presence was enough. Emma hesitated, jaw tight, then slowly lowered the phone. But the damage was done. The sisters weren't looking for fairness. They were looking to win. And people who can't be wrong will burn the world before admitting fault. Their mother stepped away from them, her movement graceful but heavy with disappointment. I'll check in myself, she told the nurse. I don't need them to speak for me. The nurse nodded gratefully. Guiding her to the counter, Emma and Dalian watched, their faces frozen in disbelief, unable to accept the humiliation of being corrected in public. Their anger simmered beneath their skin, silent but sharp. The mother glanced back at me once as she finished her paperwork. It wasn't pity. It was an apology. It was understanding, a quiet acknowledgement of someone who had seen this pattern before. She took a seat on her own, choosing a chair easily, sitting without help or strain. That simple act broke the last thread of their justification. But they weren't finished. I could see it in their eyes. Calculation replacing embarrassment. They were rewriting the next version of events. Some people don't retreat from truth. They attack it. They moved to the wall near the waiting area, whispering sharply to each other. Their faces were tight, not just with anger now, but with something more corrosive, resentment. They shot quick, cutting glances toward me like someone looking at a problem they still intended to solve. Their mother sat across the room, calm but tired. Her silence said enough. She was done intervening. Whatever her daughters did next, they'd do without her protection. The nurse returned to her desk. For a brief moment, the lobby felt normal again. Soft footsteps, quiet voices. The distant rhythm of hospital monitors echoing through the hall. But beneath that thin calm, tension hummed like a wire pulled too tight. I focused on breathing, on staying grounded, on keeping my legs still so the pain didn't spike. The wheelchair was more than metal and wheels. It was the only thing keeping me functional. Losing it meant agony. Losing it meant danger. Then Emma moved again. No outburst this time, no scene. She walked to the front desk, voice controlled but sharp-edged with intent. I'd like to speak to a supervisor, she said with a thin, artificial smile. Dalian followed close behind, arms folded tight, cheeks flushed. They weren't backing down, they were escalating. Their voices started low, measured. But calm never lasts long in people who crave control. Soon words sharpened. Accusations took shape. He doesn't have a real disability. He's faking for sympathy. He threatened us. The nurse's jaw tightened. She answered clearly, professionally, refuting every lie. But the sisters didn't stop. They layered complaint upon complaint, their voices climbing inch by inch until the tension in the air became something you could almost feel. Not enough to seem hysterical, just enough to draw attention. They wanted to rewrite the story, to reset the narrative, and for a moment it might have worked on someone else, someone who hadn't seen everything. But the security guard had. From his post near the corridor, he stood with arms behind his back, silent, watchful. He'd seen Emma's hands on the wheelchair. He'd seen the recording attempt. He'd seen their mother walk in without assistance. He stepped forward. "Let's review the footage," he said calmly. The sisters froze mid-sentence. "What footage?" Emma asked too quickly. "The security cameras," he replied. "Every interaction in the lobby is recorded. If there's been harassment, it'll be clear." The sisters exchanged a glance, one sharp, one fearful, before Dalian spoke. "We don't need to watch anything. We're telling you what happened." The guard didn't argue. He simply turned to the hospital administrator, who had arrived during the commotion. "Would you like me to pull the video?" he asked. "Yes," the administrator said without hesitation. That was the moment the tension shifted, not gone but redirected. The weight that had sat on my shoulders moved elsewhere. The administrator, a woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes that missed nothing, walked over to me. "Mr. Dustin," she said gently, "we're going to review the incident. Are you comfortable staying seated for now?" I nodded. "Yes, thank you." She gave a faint, reassuring smile before turning to the sisters. "While we review the footage, please take a seat." Dalian let out a short, incredulous laugh. "We're not criminals. Why are you treating us like we're guilty?" "No one is treating you as guilty," the administrator replied evenly. "We're confirming the facts." The sisters didn't sit. They hovered, arms crossed, eyes darting. Their mother remained silent, watching with the quiet sorrow of someone who'd seen this play out too many times before. The guard returned a few minutes later, carrying a tablet. He set it on the counter where everyone could see. The administrator stood beside him and the nurse leaned closer. The sisters hesitated. The footage played. There was no sound, but there didn't need to be. The images told everything, Emma's hands gripping the wheelchair, my body tensing as I resisted, Dalian gesturing angrily at the nurse, Emma leaning toward me, her expression sharp and unmistakable. No confusion, no distortion, only truth. Soft murmurs spread behind me. People watched quietly, some with anger, others with grim satisfaction. The teenage girl shook her head. The woman with the toddler whispered something under her breath. Their mother closed her eyes, not in shame for herself, but for them. Dalian spoke first, voice trembling. That doesn't show everything. He provoked us." The administrator didn't reply. She had likely heard hundreds of similar excuses before. "Here's what will happen," she said clearly. "You will not approach this patient again. You will not interfere with his medical equipment. You will not continue this behavior. If you do, you'll be removed from the building." Emma's eyes flashed. "Removed? For defending our mother?" Their mother stood then. The scrape of her chair against the tile was soft, but it cut through the silence like thunder. "Stop," she said. Not loud, not angry, just weary. "You embarrassed yourselves, not me. If you can't take responsibility for your actions, then leave." The lobby fell still, a collective breath finally released. The sisters didn't move. No apology, no realization, just pride folding around their anger like armor. They stood frozen, caught between humiliation and denial. Security didn't touch them. No force was needed. The truth itself was force enough. Eventually, they turned away. Dalian first, jaw clenched, shoulders rigid. Then Emma, still burning for one last word she couldn't find. They walked out in silence. When the automatic doors opened and closed behind them, the air in the lobby felt lighter. Their mother remained standing for a moment, then walked toward me, steady, deliberate. She placed a gentle hand on the back of the wheelchair, not to move it, but to acknowledge it. "I'm sorry they involved you," she said softly. "They believe care means control. I've tried to teach them otherwise, but habits can be stubborn." I shook my head. "None of this was your fault." Her eyes softened. She nodded once, then returned to her seat, dignified, calm, and heartbreakingly alone. The nurse approached me quietly, her tone filled with real compassion. "Your doctor is ready," she said. "We'll take you back now." The security guard followed behind as I was wheeled down the corridor, not because I needed protection anymore, but because safety had been restored. As we moved away, I looked back once. The mother sat by herself, hands folded, gaze steady. The empty seats beside her said everything her daughters could not. Some people lose power the moment truth is allowed to breathe. And some of us, those who have had to defend our pain, reclaim more than dignity. We reclaim ourselves. The automatic doors closed behind us.